Hi everybody. So even though there is not a cure for Parkinson's disease, there has been a discovery of an accurate biomarker for the disease's progression. This actually has allowed investigators to use brain imaging to follow the biomarker in Parkinson's disease patients. There was 2 previous studies that were done that actually showed diffusion changes in Parkinson's disease patients in one area of the brain. These 2 studies were taken over a year's time, so they were comparing the images to healthy aging patients. So the study that I read wanted to actually extend those 2 studies and not only look at one area of the brain, but look at several areas. And then they wanted to take a larger sample size. So they used the diffusion tensor imaging in a longitudinal study that was a year long. They looked at the microstructures of the brain and how it changed over that year period compared to healthy aging patients. I believe that this was appropriate because it allowed for a stronger visual to see the structural decline in the Parkinson's disease patients compared to those healthy patients. At the beginning of this study, at the baseline, they really didn't see a significant difference in the imaging between the Parkinson's disease patients and the healthy aging patients. These patients were all around the same age, and so after a year, they did the study again, and they did find that there was a larger diffusion change in Parkinson's disease patients in several of the regions that they were looking at. The 2 main ones were the thalamus and the midbrain. And as we know, the thalamus is known for our cognitive behavior, which includes learning, memory, and also decision making. So you can see why Parkinson's disease patients, have that change in their thinking and their behaviors because there is a decline in their brain that's going on, a decline in the structure. So even though the study was an extension of previous work, it did imply that there was obviously a connection between and a change as the disease progressed in the brain. And they found that the thalamus and the midbrain were actually had a higher vulnerability to changes in Parkinson's disease patients. So the investigators believed that this was actually a progression marker that should be looked into further. And even though the study seemed straightforward, there actually was some limitations to this. I guess when they started this study, many of the patients were actually put on Parkinson's disease medication within the first year, and that may have changed some of the variability of the symptomology across the patients. This reduced they feel this may have reduced the correlation between the tensor imaging and the clinical changes. So there may, be a further study where you make sure these patients aren't on medication. And it was an interesting read, so, it was cool to look at the images as well, to see the actual diffusion changes in both the healthy patients and the Parkinson's disease patients. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day and happy Easter.